All right, so I do want to go ahead and go through this quiz real quick. This is the Prism political quiz. I was going to do the 9-axis, but this is basically a replacement for the 9-axis. It says here, the Prism political quiz attempts to provide you with a breakdown of your ideology in 6 dimensions: government, economy, society, religion, security, and foreign policy. And like many other quizzes, rather than give you agree-disagree questions, it gives you a number of statements to ask you to pick the one that best represents your views. This ideally gives a better chance to show your reasoning for a particular view that allows differentiating someone from who opposes democracy because they believe in monarchy from someone who disagrees it because they believe in anarchy, for example. Oh, that's smart. Additionally, each question has an option for apathy or disagreeing with everything to allow it to even capture the beliefs of people who believe in very unique ideologies. Rather than the traditional breakdown of 2 or 3 things in contrast to each other, this quiz shows a breakdown of your ideology in a way that is not necessarily mutually exclusive. While it is not perfect, I hope it is better than many quizzes for providing a solid baseline that allows you to show a concise overview of reviews in a single easy chart. Unfortunately, it also has a limit to how specific a result is and uses broad labels, in part to prevent people from having to read hundreds of options per question, and in part because many people will not have a strong opinion once you get to a certain level of granularity, which can make automatic classification very complicated. That's fair. If you find your result is not specific enough, you can find a test particularly for your ideology to get that level of granularity. However, this test still provides a decent enough result where you can still compare your results with your friends and see the similarities and differences. While no test can be perfect, I hope you find this quiz better than most quizzes out there. There's a seeded quiz. If you'd like to take the quiz with friends or otherwise take the exact same quiz as other people, you can set a common seed that will make the randomness fixed. If you'd like to take the seeded quiz, you can click this link. Interesting. I think I'll take the seeded quiz. That way, if you guys want to compare your results, if they want to take this and compare your results to mine, then you can do that. It says the seed equals your seed here. Wait a second. So if I reload it, it's going to be the same, but I can make the seed equal, like, let's see, not a newbie. Okay. So here it is. The quiz is, you just put in not a newbie for the seed, and you'll get the same quiz that I did. So there are 51 questions here. Select the view. I don't know why this is sideways. Select the view that best describes. Select the view that best describes your opinion. Leader selection. Leader should be appointed by the previous leader based on merit to ensure we always have competent leadership. Leader should mostly be hereditary, passed down through blood. Leaders should be chosen through military experience. Those who have proved their ability to lead by working their way up the ranks deserve to lead the nation. That's an interesting take. Leaders should be chosen democratically by the nation they will lead. We should not have a single designated leader to be chosen through any method. Ooh, that's an interesting take. Leaders should be chosen by the individuals with the largest stake in the nation, similar to how a corporation might choose a CEO. That would be hard to implement, I think. Leaders should be chosen, but not directly through popular vote. It should be weighted to ensure that the votes of all provinces count rather than just the biggest ones. Then there's, I completely disagree with every part of these philosophies. And then there's, I do not care about this issue. This is really tough. Very clearly, we have leaders should be chosen democratically by the nation that they will lead. And leaders should be chosen, but not directly through popular vote. It should be weighted to ensure that the votes of all provinces count rather than just the biggest ones. To reflect direct democracy versus like a electoral college system. I actually think the electoral college system is a bit better than popular vote. So I think I'm actually going to go with that. I see the nice thing about it is, I think it does a better job of representing the majority of people in most states, rather than the majority people in the entire country. Those are two very different things. You have the majority of all voters sitting in like 5 or 10 states, but everybody else in the other states disagreeing wouldn't tip the scales democratically. I don't think that's the best thing in the world. So I am glad that we do the electoral college in the way that we do. Right? Okay, hold on. Let's see here. Oh, question mark if it's a slight preference. Click the check mark if it is definitely your preference. Yep. Climate change. Oh boy. I have to say, I don't know the science behind all this. I think in general, the solutions to climate change are pretty bad. It's all just give the government more money. So I don't know. Global warming doesn't actually exist. It's crazy to ask everyone to overhaul things like their buildings and cars to combat it. We must act to prevent climate change. Everyone must do their part. We should provide incentives for individuals to go green and regulate companies to meet environmental standards. The population should be expected to minimize their own waste and ensure that as many resources as possible remain for the state to use to support their interests. Corporations and the rich are the biggest contributors of climate change. We should direct most of our regulations at them to ensure that people are not wasting energy empowering a giant mansion they don't need. People should not be mandated to do anything to fight climate change. People may voluntarily reduce emissions if they wish. I completely disagree with every part of these philosophies. I do not care about this issue. I will say I would have a question mark on this one as a slight preference, because I will say that certain emissions should be regulated, not for a climate change thing, but for an air quality thing. Air quality in America improves when we have more emissions regulations, if I remember correctly, especially in urbanized areas with emissions restrictions on vehicles, where you have a lot of cars just sitting in traffic. It's good to have some sort of limit on emissions in that way. So I'm going to say slight preference on this one. Religious statements on national memorials. I'm opposed to mentioning a deity that probably doesn't exist on our memorials to the real people who died for our nation. Religion is an important part of our nation, and most of our soldiers would want religious symbols on their memorials. National memorials should not mention God or religion, only to serve to honor the fallen. There's nothing wrong with mentioning God in our memorials as long as it isn't actively promoting any particular religion. For these, I would say religion is an important part of our nation, as most soldiers would want religious messages on the memorials. The only thing, actually, I have a question mark, because I will say that if a soldier is known to have a particular religion, that religion should be represented on their memorial. Like, I don't know, if there's like a certain percentage, like maybe 10 or 15% of people are like referenced, of soldiers are like represented by a particular memorial, then on that memorial, it should say, I don't know, Allahu Akbar or something. Like there should be a word of acknowledgement for the religion of like the other people who are being memorialized here. So question mark on that one. Because I'm a Christian, but if most soldiers are Catholics, then like, I don't know, throw up all the rosaries you want, homie. Let's see here. Districts. Representatives are interfering with democracy and the representation. We should all directly vote on all important issues nationally. There should be a single non-elected ruler who represents everyone by considering the interests of the entire nation when making decisions. No. The government should represent the people who represented it through military or other service. No. Representatives should represent an equal amount of land. If you've invested enough in the country to own an entire district worth of land, you probably have an interest in the nation's success and should be given a district worth of representation. No. Each person should look out for their own interests, not through government voting, but through their own means. We should have people represented in our legislature proportionally with their vote on a nationwide level. If 10% of the population nationally supports a party, 10% of their legislature should be in that party. Ooh, that's an interesting take. I kind of like that. We should have districts nationally with representatives that represent roughly the same level, or the same number of people, but a guaranteed minimum representation for geographic areas. Not sure about that one. The population does not need to be represented so much as all parties who the policy will affect need a specialized representative to analyze the issue from that perspective. I will say We should all have people represented in our legislature proportionally with their vote on a nationwide level. Like, I think that's probably the most fair. In that way, if you have like a purple state, the fact that it's purple actually means something. Outsourcing. The government should nationalize all manufacturing in the nation and should not outsource jobs. We should remove the minimum wage here. Then cost of producing here will be lower than producing abroad and shipping here. Wow. The government should own most industry, but allow competition between them so there is not just one choice. Since they are government owned, we can ensure it is all domestically produced. Nope. Outsourcing manual labor allows our citizens to have cheap goods and not have to do routine manual labor, allowing jobs here to be complex work. And that is true. We should have national manufacturing subsidized by taxes to keep prices competitive with outsourced jobs. Buyers can decide for themselves which are better. No. We shouldn't do that. Our economy should be thriving well enough that they don't need subsidies from the government in order to succeed in America. We should impose heavy fees on goods produced in countries with worse labor rights than us to ensure companies can produce everything here and have fair competition. No. We should regulate companies to only provide subsidies and government purchases to businesses that perform key manufacturing within the nation, not abroad. Nope. Let's see. Outsourcing manual labor allows citizens to have cheap goods and not have to do routine manual. I would do question. I don't agree with all of these. I don't really agree with any of these. I think that the government should be allowed. The government should have an economy that's good enough that people can just, manufacture things cheaply here, and at a benefit, right? At a surplus, not at a deficit. We should be exporting goods, not importing goods. But I don't think outsourcing manual labor should be illegal, because if there's a case where the economy is so bad that goods cannot be produced well here, then we should be able to import cheaper goods from other places. So I'm going to put a question mark on this one. I think this was close enough because it's saying that outsourcing manual labor should be legal. I think it's like basically the only one here. Election reform. We should improve our election security through being more strict in ID laws and searching for cases of double voting. That sounds fair. Elections should be canceled as the law should not be decided by popular opinion. We should be making elections secure and open using internet technology such as blockchain or allowing electronic vote delegation. No. We should reform elections by making it legal to sell your vote. What? We must reform our elections by expanding ballot access. Citizens should be automatically registered and sent to ballot. No. The first one. Easy dub. National debt. Having national debt is not a bad thing, and we should not cut spending programs to pay it off, though we should have a plan before adding to it. The government should not have debt because it should not be spending at all. We should cut off spending programs to pay off the debt as quickly as possible. No. We should be mindful of debt and pay it off when possible. When the economy takes a downturn, we should spend to help it survive, but we should cut government spending and pay back debt when it picks back up. Interesting. That's not a bad take. We should take on debt both to improve the economy and invest in our population in ways that will pay back more in the long run. We should pay for this debt through higher taxes on bigger companies. No. Currency should not exist. As a result, debt should not exist. Yo, man, I would love to see Craig of the Craig Cam fame to do this quiz. This would be very fun. The government controls the currency. We can print more money when we need more money and legislate prices to stay level to keep inflation from becoming a problem. No. Let's do it. I think this one is like the most measured one. We should be mindful of debt and pay it off when possible, When the economy takes a downturn, we should spend to help it survive, but we should cut government spending and pay back debt when it picks back up. I think that's fair. Taxation of religious buildings. Religious buildings should receive state funding to ensure they are able to stay open. The state should exempt all religious buildings from taxation as long as it is exempting those of all religions. Religious buildings should be taxed, and the state should not be giving religion special privileges over other businesses. I think that's pretty fair. Religious buildings should be banned. What? Some of these answers are pretty funny. I would say, yeah, the state should not. I don't think the state should give religious groups special treatment. I think it also dilute the meaning of religion if you can arbitrarily create your own fake religion and just say, hey, my building's religious or whatever, to skirt taxes. Like, I don't know if like Satanism is necessarily fake, but a lot of people fit into that moniker, you know, especially like LGBT people trying to seek religious exemptions when they shouldn't really be there. So yeah, just make it fair for everybody, make everybody pay taxes. Prayer in school. I support having a minute of silence in schools in which students may pray if they choose, but will not enforce it upon anyone. Most schools should have daily prayer. Prayer does not need a dedicated time slot in school. Students may pray on their own time if they wish. Private religious schools may have prayers if they want, but any public schools that exist should not. Interesting. I would say the first one, although I'll put a question mark here because by the way, for the people who are listening, it says, I support having a minute of silence in public schools in which students may pray if they choose, but not forced upon anyone. The only thing I will say is if you have like a place that's like, I don't know, in like Ohio, for example, or like Indiana, you know, where it's like, or like Montana or something, where like everybody there is like Christian, basically. I think that if the school board says, hey, you know, we're all Christians here, why not just let everyone pray? Then like it should be fair, like those schools, where you've got like religious homogeny, they should be able to all be like, hey, let's all pray, and you know, because everybody's Christian, so they're all cool with it. Like, why not? So question mark on that one. Private schools. There should be a mixture of public and private schools. However, public schools should receive a lot of funding to ensure our children are well educated and ensure they are competitive with private schools. There should not be public schools. The state should have no obligation to provide education to those who cannot afford it. Schools should be private, but the government should provide vouchers to the poor to ensure every child is able to afford attending school. Not a big welfare guy. All schools should be public schools. However, parents should be able to choose which public school they attend rather than having it chosen automatically based on location. The state should own all schools. It should make it easier to ensure all our students have equal opportunity to succeed. I don't really like many of these. Actually, the first one actually is good. Now that I think about it, there should be a mixture of public and private schools. However, public schools should receive a lot of funding to ensure our children are well educated and ensure that they are competitive with private schools. The only problem with that is usually because the government, it's all rife with corruption. You see schools where they bump up the funding drastically, but you don't see repairs being done to the building. You don't see increases to teacher pay. So those easily become like black holes for money and like basically money laundering or like stealing taxpayer money, in my opinion. But in the theory, yes, this should be the policy. Artificial intelligence. We should embrace AI, but must be sure to make sure that there are adequate alternatives for workers it will displace, and that any damage it can do is limited and it will protect privacy. Artificial intelligence risks displacing living workers from their lifestyles and livelihoods. We should be hesitant to replace jobs with AI. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I think AI is overhyped, so that's one reason why we shouldn't try to replace jobs with AI. Because you'll fire a bunch of people, get in AI does a bad job, and you have to rehire all those people again. Artificial intelligence largely takes jobs from low-income workers and can hurt their livelihoods. It can also hide discrimination through training AI on biased data. We should limit its use. No, we shouldn't limit AI, I don't think. People and companies should be allowed to use AI freely. That's me. Excuse me. That's me. I agree with that. We should fully embrace AI. Soon it will and should be able to make decisions far more objectively and effectively than humans can. No. But yeah, people should be allowed to use AI freely. Just let people do AI. I don't care. Power for policy setting. The military should ultimately have power and the ability to set policy. To be fair, one could say they kind of already do. One could make the case for that, perhaps. The policy setting power should lie within the executive branch, but through the appointed cabinet and bureaucracy, who can better specialize their knowledge more than the executive. No, disagree with that. The executive of the nation should hold a majority of decision-making power and generally be the one to create policy. No, I don't think it should be in the executive power, the executive branch's power. No person or body should hold power over an individual. We should all be free to live our lives. And an elected national legislative branch should primarily be the one to set policy for the entire nation and overrule any laws at the provincial level. I don't know. I think local law, I would love to see local law override federal law in certain cases, in a lot of cases, actually. Power should be shared between the national and local governments roughly equally. That's close. That's closer. That's warmer to where I am. Power to set policy should largely lie in the provincial or local power with limited national power. Let's go, baby. That's me. I see you. That's me. That's me right there. That's me right there. The wealthiest individuals should hold power, as they are generally the most capable and contribute the most to the nations. No. The power should lie with people directly who should initiate legislation through citizen-initiated ballot measures. I kind of think the theory, but no. Power and policy should largely lie in provincial local level with limited national power. That's me. Minority group making language official where spoken a lot. It is important for our nation to have a single national official language. These people should be expected to learn and understand the national language. We should add it as a national language in that locality, as it can make life significantly easier for these people. This will cause undue burden to our industries for labeling everything for all languages in all localities. That's true. We should have one national language. Yeah, I think I'd agree. I agree with that one. People who do not speak our language should be deported. There's no reason why other language. It's so funny when I see all of these just like very like reasonable or like at the very least nuanced takes, and then I just see like the blatantly like fascist one. What? Okay. Let's do no, not that one. Okay, let's see. This will cause undue burden to our industries and labeling everything for all languages and for our localities. We should have one national language. That would be me. Religious bakers refuses to make gay marriage cake. The couple should be arrested. They should be pairing with someone with who they can produce babies with. I mean, true, but like, they shouldn't be arrested though. They shouldn't be arrested. The baker is being asked to make something against his religion. He should have no obligation to create something celebrating that. That's fair. Unless they're asking him to draw a graphic image depicting homosexuality. Strike that from the record. He should have no problem with it. If it's just writing their names and something like a pride flag, it's discriminatory to refuse the request. I mean, it's discriminatory, but also fair. This is unacceptable discrimination and homophobia. This man should not be business. People should see that's like the fascistic take here. Well, that one in the top one. This is fascistic in different directions. People should never be made to do anything. You should be able to deny services to anyone for any reason. They can get one elsewhere. I'm gonna go with the baker is being asked to make something against his religion. He should have no obligation to create something celebrating that. I agree with that. Concentration of power. Power should be concentrated according to wealth. Citizens who are wealthier have a bigger stake in the nation and in most cases understand both the specialization, how people think, and what they want, which allowed them to become wealthy. I mean, some of it's nepotism, to be fair. Maintaining wealth, I think, is probably easier than getting it, from how I understand it. Power should be distributed to everyone through a large legislative body with enough people to represent the views of each person. Politicians are important to be able to spend their full time understanding issues, listening to experts, and evaluating the big picture. I kind of see that. We need a single leader above all who could serve for life. And be able to fully understand the big picture without worrying about what the public thinks. The leader can make the best decisions for the nation as a whole. No. Only those who have served the military and potentially risked their life for the nation can be fully trusted with the nation's interests. What's up with all these answers insinuating that like you need to be in the military to like run the country? That's kind of weird. I don't know. Only those who served in the military and potentially risked their life for the nation can be fully trusted with the nation's interests, and only those who served it can be thus given a voice and power. Wow. So in order to vote, you must have served the country. That's interesting. I don't agree with that. We should distribute power by region in the nation, with representatives from each region deciding national policy. But also leaving many issues to the regions themselves to decide locally. Ooh, I kind of like that. Nobody should have the power to make laws. People should have the freedom to decide for themselves what is wrong and what is justified. Power must be decentralized to everyone, with the important decisions ultimately decided through frequent national referenda. People generally know what they want and are able to understand issues with a little explanation. Policy should not be set by politicians, but by experts in each field who are able to actually understand the issues, something the politicians will never truly be able to do. I guess distribute power by region and nation. I think that's close to what we have now with different states having their own policies. I kind of like that because I like the idea of decentralization of power. So, drugs. We should educate our children to the dangers of drugs and ban the most harmful ones, but ones like marijuana should be legal for recreational use. Sounds like someone just really likes weed, you know? Right? They're singling that one out as the one that should be legal. Bans on drugs like marijuana were designed to disproportionately affect the poor and minorities. We found the Twitter take. We should overturn most drug-related convictions and institute programs to help addicts get their lives back in order. We should institute programs to help addicts get their lives back in order, to be fair. Don't we have those, though? I think we have some, and addicts like to, refuse those. I could be wrong. Drugs are dangerous for our society and can tear apart families and relationships. Selling them for recreational use should be banned for safety. We should have programs to educate people on the dangers they pose. No, disagree with that. We can use drugs to ensure people are incapable of causing trouble. Is he basically like doping people into impotency? Is that what it's arguing for here? We can mandate them. What? Mandating drugs is like wild. What? We can mandate them and only provide them to when people act in accordance with how the state requires. It's bribing people with drugs to behave. It's insane. What you put in your body is your own business. We should legalize drugs so they don't go into the black market. This is a tough one because I kind of agree with the last one, but at the same time, I think there are certain drugs that are extremely dangerous. I do think that drug use should be relatively regulated because they should be in the use of adults. Adults should not be driving while under the influence of them. Generally speaking, they also shouldn't be under the influence while in public, although I think we should have exceptions for things like alcohol. But this is tough. This is tough because I don't think there's anyone here that completely accurately represents my view. I think the first one is pretty close. We should educate our children to the dangers of drugs and ban the most harmful ones. Ones like marijuana should be legal for recreational use. I don't know, because like I also think that, look, if you want to take an extremely dangerous drug in your own home in a controlled environment where there are no children who can access the drug, knock yourself out literally, I guess. I'm going to put a question mark on this first one. Creationism in school. Oh boy. Schools should be required to teach the evolution in evolution alone. That is science and facts, and pretending it is not does disservice to our children. The church does not belong in our schools. Private schools may teach creationism if they wish, but public schools should only teach scientific theories such as evolution. The state must not take sides. Public schools should be required to teach both creationism and evolution. And students can decide for themselves what to believe. I agree with that one. That'd be me. The universe was created by higher power. We must teach this in our schools, and evolution should only be mentioned when demonstrating how it is wrong. Let's do the both sides. I like both sidesing this. Let's do that. Flag burning. It should be mandatory to support the nation. What? Oh, and as such, damaging a flag should be very illegal. Oh, that was whiplash there. This should be a free country, and if you own a flag, you should be able to burn it if that's what you want to do. Hey. If that's what you want to do, hey. I agree. A flag is a symbol of our nation. To destroy flags is a hostile act against the nation. It should be illegal. No. The nation has major issues, and the only way to get them addressed is to draw attention. Flag burning is fairly harmless, but gets attention, and so it's a good protest method. Yeah, it's fair. I mean, but the only thing I don't like about that answer is that it's umbrella, right? It doesn't care whether or not the flag is owned by you or someone else's. I support the right to protest and destroy flags, but flag burning should be regulated for safety to avoid that pose a danger to people and property to the smoke or fire. Oh, you mean so well, little Timmy. Here, let's see if you own a flag, you should burn it. Or feel free to burn it, rather. Elections. The vote of an educated person should be worth more than that of a fool. Some of these cancers are just hilarious. What? Voting is an unnecessary process. The whims of the masses are irrelevant. What? Those who serve the country through the military should have more of a say in the government than those who do not. No. A vote is a vote, and all votes should count equally the same. Roughly. Each person must have a vote, but it should be weighted geographically for at least one chamber of the legislature to ensure one region cannot dominate the legislature. That's what I agree with right there. There shouldn't be a government to even vote to put people in. Half of these answers are purely psychotic. What is this? Those who put more money into the government deserve to get more out of their vote. No. Shouldn't be able to just buy political power. Let's do this one. Every person should have a vote, which should be weighted geographically for at least one chamber of the legislature to ensure one region cannot dominate the legislature. All right. Most important trait in a political leader. Most important quality in a leader is experience. We need someone who knows how to make decisions, understand how our government functions. We should make our own decisions. We don't need a leader above us. The most important quality in a leader is power. We need someone who can influence policy through connections beyond the office they hold. It's an interesting take. The most important quality in a leader is intelligence. We need someone who can understand problems and find solutions to them. I kind of like that one. I think that one might be the best answer here. The most important quality in a leader is empathy. We need someone who is capable of understanding our issues and addressing them as we want. The most important quality in a leader is political courage. We need someone who will make the decisions that need to be made, even if they're unpopular. Kind of agree, but like I think you need intelligence to be able to do that. So I'm gonna take the intelligence, homie. I'm gonna take the intelligence. Surveillance. The government should be able to access the communications of anyone. This should be used to discourage people from engaging in illegal activities online. No. Well, hey, who's the angry Canadian? Hey, angry Canadian. I hope you are angry no more. Nice to see you in the chat. The government should be allowed to look at most communications, but software should automatically flag illegal activities review and potentially reporting to the authorities. I actually kind of agree on that one, though. That one might be what I select here. People should have a reasonable expectation of privacy on their data, but the government should be allowed to gain access to the private communications of certain people if they have reasonable cause to apply for warrants. I don't love it, but that is legally consistent because you can break into someone's house with a warrant. So theoretically, you should also be able to break into someone's phone with a warrant. I don't know. Companies should be permitted to monitor your communications and ensure you're following all the terms for the government, even if one exists, should not be allowed to. I agree with that one, actually. I think that one actually is the best one. People should have a right to privacy in their communications. The government should not be able to get electronic data. They should be able to ask and get it voluntarily. But yeah, I'm gonna go with companies should be permitted to monitor your communications and ensure that you're following all their terms with the government, even if one exists, should not be allowed to. Let's do that one. The angry Canadian says, have you seen the Nazi invasions of universities throughout USA and Canada? Yes. I wouldn't call them Nazi because they're largely left-wing. I will say internationally, I haven't kept as close an eye on it. So it could very well be that they're far right internationally. It's pro-Hamas would be the better way to put it. They're basically all pro-Hamas. You won't find a single person in any of those protests to condemn Hamas. We went over in a previous stream how the leader of the protests in Australia, I think, refused to condemn Hamas and actually said that they deserve our unconditional support. I actually made a video about it. Let's see here, where I basically explained or showed that they're all kind of like terrorists, right? Let's see, where is it? 9DB Highlights channels where I post videos like 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon. It's this one. This is terrorism. Are the college protesters terrorists? The answer is yes. So yeah, I talk about it in that video there. Death penalty. Happier subjects. The death penalty is an easy escape for especially heinous criminals and should be banned. No. We should always try to rehabilitate, and criminals should have a right to live and change. So the death penalty should not be banned. People are found guilty beyond any shadow of a doubt of a particularly heinous crime. They should be given the death penalty. I'll agree with that one. Excuse me. Those who defy the state should be executed to ensure that those who remain obey. That's insane. There should be no prisons as such. If someone has committed an act where it is unsafe for them, unsafe to allow them to go freely, they should be executed. What? The death penalty should be an option, as it will reduce crime as serving as a deterrent. I agree with that. Is very similar to the one that I have selected. If people are found guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt of a particularly heinous crime, they should be given the death penalty. I like it because it's more specific, like murder, for example, or like aggravated sexual assault. Like those things, they should have the death penalty to them. So let's check the box here. Angry Canadian says we should say this. Free Palestine to support the regime from 1930s Germany. No. You could be anti-Semitic and not like Germany. You could be anti-Semitic and not like Germany. Hold on, let me see. Because let me look this up here. Yeah, no, I don't think that Nazism is a prerequisite for anti-Semitism. I would say so. United Nations resolutions, main 6 bodies. We should not be part of the UN. We should attempt to use the United Nations to our advantage and support proposals that benefit us and encourage others to follow them. However, we should only follow the proposals that benefit us. We should follow the UN resolutions and put international pressure on nations that don't to make the world a better place for everyone. Our country should look out for the people, not the people of the world, so we should not follow UN guidelines unless they happen to coincide with our own interests. Not a terrible take. I support having United Nations or a similar new organization to replace governments such as our own to unify the world into a single country. What? What? This is like literally like one world government supporting like policy. That's crazy. We should not change our way of life because of the nation say to. I kind of agree with that. Our nation's laws should not be determined by other nations. We can consider UN resolutions, but only pass them as laws in our nation if they match our interests. There are a lot of answers here that seem synonymous. A lot of them seem synonymous. I agree with this last one, I think, best. Yeah, I agree with this one. It's it's just so similar to a lot of the other answers. Some of them seem redundant. Let's see here. The Angry Canadian says YouTube supports, I'm going to say Discord moderators here. I'd like to self-censor in a fun way. It keeps saying we should get rid of Discord moderators and YouTube blocks it. I mean, yeah, it depends on like how you're saying we should get rid of them, you know. Utilities. Utilities should be owned by local governments or communities. They will be responsive to the small group they serve and can be replaced by the community if they are not meeting the needs of the community. Yeah, that kind of makes some sense. The government should subsidize utility companies by expanding all areas of the nation. In exchange for this assistance, companies must guarantee a fair price and other guarantees such as a certain percentage of renewable electricity each year. No. The utilities will find a fair competitive price. They should not be regulated. Even if one company services an area, they have to compete because people will take them into account when choosing an area to live in. Nah, not really. Utilities should be regulated to ensure that systems are compatible so that multiple companies can connect to the same building. We must prosecute monopolies that do not give a choice. I guess. Well, no. See, look, with the first one, utilities should be owned by local governments or communities. They will figure that stuff out as part of that process. We don't need that to be regulated. So, no. We should have national utilities companies, but not ban private companies. If they can find a market, they can compete with the nationalized options. Nope. I don't like nationalization. It is expensive for companies to set up utility infrastructure, and they should be expected to set a fair, profitable price to make up their investments in a reasonable time. Utilities such as electricity and water should be nationalized. They're public goods that everyone needs. Public control allows the best quality, since in many places there's only one option. I get it for water, but not for everything else. Utilities should be owned by local governments and communities. Yeah, let's do that one. Yeah, localized, not nationalized. That's what I support. Deaths caused by police. Oh, wait, actually, hold on. There's a question here. The Angry Canadian says death penalty. I was saying death penalty and YouTube blocks it. Well, hey. Hey, YouTube. Death penalty. Deaths caused by police. When a police death occurs, there should be an investigation. The officer should be punished if they did not follow policy. But if they followed a bad policy, the policy should be changed and the officer should not be punished. True. I agree with that. Most police should not be armed with lethal weapons, should be representative of the communities they serve, and should be trained in de-escalation, and should be charged when they kill a member of the communities they were supposed to protect. No. Because if you kill someone in self-defense, then you shouldn't be prosecuted or punished for that. There should not be a police force. People should determine justice by using their own means. What? People should be legally allowed to kill someone when someone puts up a perceived resistance to the police. No. Oh, well, hold on. The police should be legally allowed to Brazil when... No. That makes a little sense. If I say, like, no, then you should be able to kill me. No. Police work dangerous, high-stress jobs and should generally have protection when they take an action when they perceive a threat that turns out to be wrong. I agree with that, too. But I think the first one's more accurate. Right? You should follow policy. So, yeah, when the police death occurs, there should be an investigation. The officer should be punished if they did not follow policy. But if they followed a bad policy, the policy should be changed. The officer should not be punished. I would add, though, that policy change must be mandatory as part of the investigation. I would add that, too. Consumer goods production. The government should produce consumer goods to ensure an affordable price. Yes, our USA canned beans. However, the free market should be able to compete with it. The government should not be producing consumer goods. That is for the markets to produce. Yes. Thank you. Government-owned industries should manufacture all consumer goods for the population. No. The government should regulate consumer goods to ensure safety and compliance with standards, but not produce them. The nation should guarantee consumer goods to meet everyone's needs provided by those who are able to make them without any sort of currency. No. Anyone should be able to start a government-backed company that can produce competing consumer goods? Wouldn't that mean the government would own all companies? No. I'm going to go with number 2. The government should not be producing consumer goods. That is for the markets to produce. Refugees. We should accept refugees only if they're able to offer something to our nation, whether it is specialist, talents, or intel on the country they are fleeing. We must have a system where refugees have background checks, but after they pass, we should let them in. Subject to conditions for integrating into our society. Interesting. Not sure what those conditions should be. Because, see, I think immigrants, like, if you're going to let refugees into the country, if they're in, just let them in. Like, don't have different standards for them than you have for citizens. These people could pose a threat to our citizens. We should accept very few refugees only after extensive background checks under strict conditions. I kind of agree, but they shouldn't be that strict. If they can make it to our country, we should not deny them entry. It is ever have the right to be a part of our nation. No. Refugees are not our problem. They should not be allowed to enter the nation. No. It is our duty to help people in need. We should take in as many refugees as we are able to comfortably support. That's actually surprisingly reasonable. Although, of course, I do think that we should have background checks. Let's do the second one. That's the closest one to what I agree with. We should have a system where refugees have background checks, but after they pass, we should let them in subject to conditions for integrating into our society. Whistleblowers. Anyone leaking state secrets must be punished. The people the state trusts to handle its secrets should not have the authority to determine whether the state is right or wrong. There should be no classified information, and as such, there's no issue with whistleblowers. Whistleblowers must report through the proper channels for ethical concerns. If someone is found to leak classified information, they should be punished. No. Whistleblowers who are revealing information that the people have right to know, such as illegal activities the government did, should be protected and regarded as heroes. I agree with that one. Free my homie, Julian Assange. Agreement between allies to prevent border security checks between them. Schengen. I don't know what that is. It is important that we can examine who is coming into our country. We cannot control who enters those nations, which is unacceptable. Yeah, I agree with that one, I think. We should not allow people to leave the nation. And as such, I am opposed to this. I support this agreement as long as people respect our laws and values. This can make it easier for tourists to visit our nation and improve our national wealth. I support this. I support this not just with our allies, but with all nations. People should be free to enter any nation. No. I oppose this as we should not be having people from other nations in our nation at all. This agreement is a win for everyone. It can make it possible for people with closer alliances between our people. I don't know what this agreement is, but I'm gonna go with the first one. Like, we should be able to regulate who comes to our country, but let's not regulate who goes to other people's country. That's their own business. The angry Canadian says, Boeing hired a hitman on the whistleblowers. I don't know that definitively, but I will say that the timing of the deaths of the whistleblowers is extremely surprising. I have not seen anything that looked this suspicious as the results of the 2020 election. Gun ownership. Gun ownership should be encouraged, if not required, to deter criminals who will have their life put at risk when committing crime. I agree with that one. Those who can demonstrate a need to own a gun should be able to get one. However, those without a need should not be able to. No. Anyone should be able to own a gun and be able to use it when they feel threatened. Basically, I do think if you commit certain crimes, you should be. I think that they might not. Maybe they shouldn't have a right to have a gun if they've committed certain crimes, but I would prefer the top one. Many gun deaths are caused by lack of proper training. There should be restrictions on purchasing guns, including training requirements and background checks to ensure gun owners are responsible. No. Civilians should not be permitted to own a gun and endangers law enforcement officers and makes crime more difficult to stop. That's completely false. We know this. So I'm going to go with this one. Gun ownership should be encouraged and not required to deter criminals who will have their life put at risk when committing a crime. Most important espionage agency tasks. We should use our espionage agencies to primarily to identify terrorist threats that could pose a risk to our citizens. Yeah. We should not even have a foreign espionage agency. Our domestic agency should be focused on uncovering, tracking down criminals who have entered the nation illegally. I don't know, because you always have the possibility that people overseas might want to attack and harm this nation. So it's fair to have a foreign espionage agency. We should use our foreign espionage agency to attempt to infiltrate our enemies abroad and overthrow leaders who oppose us when possible. Okay, so this is the CIA take. This is the CIA take. No. Most important task is uncovering and tracking down the worst sorts of criminals who reside in our nation. Now, you got the police for that. We don't need espionage agencies to do that. The most important espionage task is for our domestic agency to track down people who enter the nation legally so that we can deport them. No. If they were bad enough at doing bad stuff, the police would have already caught them by now. Like, they would have done something terrible, then the police would be on their tail. The most important task is for our foreign espionage agency to uncover atrocities around the world and expose them. Ooh, that'd be kind of cool. I like this. Like, this is like the white knighted version of America. I think terrorist threats. I agree with that one. An angry Canadian said, watch this site call you a far-right extremist. I don't know. The last time I took a political compass test, I ended up being a centrist. So we'll see. Highways. Roads should be privatized. Private highways should ensure that those who use them pay for them and will create better quality. We should have many highways be public, but allow private highways to be built to compete. If their quality or placement allows them to be profitable because people choose them, that's a positive for everyone. Um, Local government should build and maintain highways that ensures they are responsible to the wishes of local communities and their wishes. Highways should be operated by the national government. This ensures we could guarantee road quality nationwide. This is for everyone and to employ a lot of people to work on ensuring top quality. Let's do the second one. I agree with that one. We should have many highways be public, but allow private highways to be built to compete. If their quality of placement allows them to be profitable because people choose them, that's positive revenue. I agree with that one. Like, hey, I'm a private like property and personal people rights type of dude. So why there's so many options for some of these questions, man? Universal basic income. Rather than starting taxation at 0%, there should be a threshold, and those below the threshold are paid, and those who make more than the threshold are taxed. Should always receive more by working to ensure there's always incentive to work. That's just called, I don't know. I'm opposed to universal basic income. Working people should be guaranteed a living wage, and benefits for the unemployed and unable to work should be more than a UBI would be worth. The rich do not need the extra bit of income. That's not a bad take. I support a universal wage a bit lower than the average wage, more than a basic income. Those who cannot work due to medical conditions, temporary employment, or a retirement should receive it, and the employed should be guaranteed at least that much. That's not a bad take from a supply end. But I just don't think a UBI would work, to be fair. So, guaranteeing income is this dangerous idea that disincentivizes working. This is true. So, hurt economy, and I cannot support it. This is me. I think this is me right here. But there's more. I support universal basic income paid for by large companies outsourcing or automating jobs as almost as much as a difference in cost to allow small businesses to remain cooperative. That's a word salad or a word soup. People should be guaranteed their needs. As such, income such as universal basic income should not exist. What? That doesn't even make any sense. I support a universal basic income. The poor should not have to prove their status of being poor and have the government manage how they spend their welfare for them. No, I don't agree with that. The poor should be guaranteed essentials through government-run public options with discounted rates for the elderly and those in poverty rather than universal basic income. I guess, sort of, but that's not related to universal basic income, so I'm not going to use that answer. I support universal basic income consisting of the profits from government-run companies to distribute their successes and ensure minimal risk for the less successful government-run companies. Nope. I'm going to go with this one. Guaranteeing income is a dangerous idea that disincentivizes working. This will hurt the economy, and I cannot support it. Foreign aid. We should put foreign aid into nations with poor standards. Improving the life there reduces worldwide refugees and protects our nations from them. See, I generally don't like foreign aid because it causes companies to depend on us and rely on us for money. And usually those countries don't necessarily end up actually improving their own states. They just rely on us for funding indefinitely rather than getting themselves back up on their feet so that they can support themselves. Excuse me. Foreign aid can greatly improve the quality of lives depending on nations for relatively little cost to us. So we should provide it. The affairs of other nations do not matter to us. There was no reason to send foreign aid. I softly agree with this. The only thing is, I think that if you've got other countries who are fighting enemies of ours, like Israel, for example, fighting enemies of ours, give them some money to do that. I think it's relatively fair. Maybe we give them too much, but I think giving them some money is fair. We should expand our influence abroad, and foreign aid is a good way to gain favors and popular opinion abroad. That's true. But I don't think that that's the way we should do it. We should not be spending our taxpayers' hard-earned money on other nations. I agree with that. Any government should be minimal if it exists at all. It thus should have the funds to be paying money abroad. And there's some actually good answers here. I'm gonna softly agree with the affairs of other nations do not matter to us. There is no reason to send foreign aid. I think there's some reasons, but in general, we shouldn't just going around like throwing out like ones at the club of, you know, international policy. Minimum wage. People should be guaranteed a living wage from their jobs. This should be able to work a single job with reasonable hours and be guaranteed enough to afford everything they need. I suppose, but I always hate it when people say living wage because, you know, living wage is usually like twice as much as like minimum wage, and it just causes inflation by the way most people use it. The majority of working people should be paid the value of their labor with a minimum and a comfortable living wage. There should be a maximum wage. Managers, executives should be paid a lot less. No, I disagree with that. There should be a moderate living wage that won't put small businesses out of business, as well as a tax on large companies with many workers below the poverty line to pay for any welfare their employees receive and ensure small businesses are competitive. No, I don't agree with that. People should produce as they can and consume what they need. The concept of money should not exist. I completely disagree with that. All companies should be required to split their profits fairly throughout their employees. Anyone in charge of the company should not be allowed to be paid significantly more than those at the bottom of the company. No. No. Workers should have minimum wage to prevent a race from the bottom, but executives develop ideas for their business and take risks in founding it, and thus deserve a large portion of their company's profits. I agree with that. That's probably where I lie. There should be no minimum wage. The markets will figure out how much labor is worth and allow us to keep prices competitive with those produced with labor abroad. No. There should be a national program that guarantees a job with a wage that people can live comfortably on, such as working on things such as better infrastructure. Companies that pay less than that will have trouble finding workers to fill their openings. That is actually a nice idea, but I don't support it more than workers should have a minimum wage to prevent a race to the bottom.
M replied to Lennox, oh, how does that make her have a great voice?
Why in the world does this... Hold on. What the heck? Why is Discord having TTS notifications? Okay, that's weird. That creeped me out. I was like, what? Workers should have a minimum wage to prevent a race in the bottom, but executives develop ideas for the business and take risks in funding it and deserve a large portion of their company profits. Like, this ain't the NBA. We shouldn't have a salary cap, okay? I guess NFL. We shouldn't have a salary cap. But yeah, like, we shouldn't have a race to the bottom either, which is what we would have without a minimum wage, which is the only reason I accept it or support it. Like, that's literally one of the major reasons why we have minimum wage in the first place. The role of people in policy. The general population is bad at bad opinions. A government would be better without their opinions. Nope. Because the government often has worse opinions, no matter how bad the popular opinions might be. Other people's opinions should not have an effect on what you are allowed to do. No? I mean, part of democracy is having to listen to, like, the votes of other people. The wealthy tend to know what they want and have good opinions, but the poor rarely know what is good for them. What an elitist take. The population generally knows what they want, but cannot be expected to have the time to research and vote on each issue and should delegate it to those representatives. The population as a collective generally can understand and make good decisions in terms of policy with a little bit of explanation to be able to decide what they want directly. I kind of agree with that one, yeah. People must be good to say, but the government must try to avoid the tyranny of the majority by having more local representation rather than enforcing the nationwide popular opinion on the whole nation. I agree with that one. The Angry Canadian says, yo, link the website. So pretty easy, I guess, for my Discord. So if you go to dscrd.ntnwb.cc, You'll get sent here to a link to my Discord server. Inside the Discord server, you can like chat with me and stuff. Send in suggestions for things for me to react to and all that good stuff. I actually don't have TTS on because I think it'd probably be a little bit distracting. And I can read all your guys' messages over here in my second screen. I do have the TTS on for like certain things, like especially if I'm like gaming and stuff. And I usually put on TTS through the YouTube chat, not through my Discord chat. But you know, eventually hold on. It says you are in my Wait, you're in my Discord? What's your name? Are you Mike? Sorry, I didn't. The Angry Canadian. Your name didn't sound familiar. Angry Canadian? Maybe you're Mike. I don't know. But your name doesn't sound familiar. I don't see anyone by that name in the Discord right now. Anyways, I do want to get through the rest of this. Oh, yes, I'm back, Mike. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay. I didn't know who you were. I thought you were new. Genetic engineering. Genetic engineering poses a major threat of allowing the super rich to have inhumanly perfect babies who can outperform the poor. Furthering societal class gaps, it should be banned except in cases of life and death. What? The government should not stand in the way of genetic engineering. Those who wish to create better children using technology should be allowed to. I agree with that one, I think. As long as you shouldn't experiment on, yeah. Just let it happen, man. Human genetics should not be something we alter unless there is certain death for the people in question. Without genetic modification, we should avoid it. I mean, I agree with that, but like it shouldn't be like a policy. Send me a link to the quiz. Okay, so I have a seed here. The seed is not a newbie. I'll send a link into the Discord, or I'll send a link into the YouTube chat, and after the stream's over, I'll send it into the Discord as well. So if you go to that link, you can fill out this quiz as well. And feel free to share the results that you get into my Discord and the politics thing. At the end, I'll do the same. So we should use genetic modification for good, such as eradicating diseases and correcting genetic defects, but should leave most traits to genetics. I mean, again, what we should do and what should be legal are two entirely different things. Genetic engineering should not only be allowed, but required. We should modify infants to be perfect at exactly what we need and plan their lives and they can integrate perfectly with society without questioning their place. What? This dude just wants humanoids. They just want Westworld. Let's do the second one. The government should not stand in the way of genetic engineering. Those who wish to create better children using technology should be allowed to. Let's do that one. When military action should be used. We should primarily use our military to ensure our nation maintains its status and independence, such as by defending allies and ensuring our other nations do not try to take our land or water. I guess, although I think that we should minimize how much of our military prowess we use in defending our allies. Our military should defend our interests abroad to ensure we remain an influential presence, such as by overthrowing hostile governments. No, that's the CIA take. We should use our military as a deterrent to ensure we are not attacked, as every time we enter a war, we are putting our citizens' lives on the line. The problem with that policy is that, like, oftentimes you end up enraging people overseas, and then they end up hating us for generations. That's what's happening in the Middle East. You can read all about that when I read Osama bin Laden's manifesto, right? We should use our military to assault and annex territory that should belong to us? No. We should use our military to ensure the well-being and freedom of people around the world, such as contributing to international peacekeeping missions in efforts to replace governments that fail to respect human rights. Nah, that's not a problem. The state of other nations should not concern us, so any military we maintain should be for self-defense only. That one I kind of agree with. We should have a military. That ain't me. I'm going to do this one. So any military we maintain should be for self-defense only. Let's do that one. International currency. Sharing a currency with neighboring nations increases our currency's stability and gives it more weight internationally, so I support it. What does sharing a currency mean? I don't know what that means. The government should not be regulating currency. People should be free to choose what they accept as pay, that has cryptocurrency, material goods, or the currency within the nation if they believe it has value. That's me, baby. That's me. I support sharing a currency with our neighbors as it will simplify life for everyone in the shared currency zone. That just sounds so weird. It make international commerce easier. I support using a shared currency with neighboring nations. It allows our people and theirs to easily travel to each other and eases transactions across the shared currency zone. Yeah. Our historical currency is a part of our national identity. We cannot give it up for a slight ease of transactions with foreigners. That's so like hostily loaded. I'm sorry that this boom arm is squeaking. Having the ability to print our own currency when we need to stimulate our economy is valuable to our nation and is worth more than the benefits of a shared currency. Now, we shouldn't be printing our money. We shouldn't be printing money though. Like, I'm opposed to sharing a currency with other nations. We should be able to make decisions about our currency internally, and foreigners should not have a say in that. I mean, I agree that the national currency, like the government should have exclusive control over that too. But at the same time, I agree mostly with the second one, which says the government should not be regulating currency, and people should be free to choose what they accept as pay, such as cryptocurrency, material goods, or the currency of another nation if they believe it has value. That's what I agree with most. Religious holidays. Religious holidays are the most popular religion in the nation should be national holidays, as everyone can have off around then. The state should not make religious holidays national holidays. Instead, have more holidays around dates significant to our nation, like an election day, or to emphasize relaxation rather than religious observation. I don't necessarily oppose that. The government should guarantee most holy holidays of all major religions in the nation. Let me see here. The nation off, so those of all religions can perform their religious duties. The only problem with that policy is that like religious holidays generally is like a mandatory day off, and I don't think it should be mandatory. I think like you should only be obligated to take the day off. But you cannot mandate that your employees come into the office if they're not of that particular religion. That would be where I draw the line. So I'm going to have a question mark on that one. I agree with the government should guarantee the most holy holidays of all major religions in the nation off, so those of all religions can perform their religious duties. I'm going to put a question mark on that one. Bank crashing that will damage the economy. We should create a single national government-owned bank and buy all the current banks, including the one that is failing. This ensures everyone can pay the same rates and that we can take on the debt the failing one owes. No. We should purchase this bank and run it as a national bank. No. Other banks could compete with us, but we can guarantee it won't go bankrupt. No. We should bail out the bank to save the economy. But eventually have the bank pay back the money with interest. No. Yes, we should not interfere with the free markets. It will fail, and eventually the economy will build itself. That's true. We should break up the big banks before they get into a situation where a crash like this can be caused by one company. That's an interesting take, but no, I disagree. The issue is that we have private mega banks. We should instead have local government-owned community banks that work in the interests of the communities they represent and fund businesses in the area. No, I disagree. Like, we should have more community banks, but those should be like, they shouldn't be mandated, you know? We should be allowed to have mega banks as well. Banks should not exist in any form. I completely disagree with that. Let's do this one. We must not interfere with the free markets. It will fail, and eventually the economy will rebuild itself. Immigration. We will close our borders. We should close our borders to completely shut down immigration. Our nations for our people alone. No, that's scary. We need to be able to screen immigrants coming to our country and ultimately decide who enters. Those who enter unlawfully must be found and deported. I agree with that one. We should accept and encourage talented and educated immigrants to move here. We can provide them the best of our country, and they can better our country with their talents. I suppose, sure. Let's see here. We must ensure that there is a need for the immigrants we let in. Those who take low-paying jobs anyone can do are taking jobs from our own citizens. However, I would support immigrants with skills where we have a shortage. That's an interesting take, but nope. I don't think that it should just be based on like what jobs can be taken or not taken. Immigrants caught breaking laws should be deported, but those who illegally enter the country should be overlooked, allowed to stay as they work lower wages and worse conditions than our citizens, allowing us to reduce the cost of living for our citizens. I actually used to agree with this take. And that used to be my take like 10 years ago, where it's like, hey, we have so many illegal immigrants in the country that it's going to cost too much money and too much time and scare off too many people and oppress too many minorities to just like bust down doors and just like try to get every single legal immigrant into the country, out of the country. Instead, generally, we should just like keep an eye out for the immigrants, support the ones that we come across. But in general, like if you're here illegally and you're not breaking any crimes, there's no need for us to really like, go hunting for you, right? Like a bounty hunter. So, but that's not where I lie now. Like I think that I think it would be fair to go through and systematically try to find illegal immigrants and deport them. But all of that's useless unless you've, already shored up our border. Our border's porous. So I think it's better that we like stem the bleeding first before we try to get illegal immigrants that are here out of the country. I also would not be opposed to having an internalized path to citizenship where it's like, hey, there's like a legal process where if you're outside the country, you'd have to follow in order to get into the country. But hey, we give you 2 or 3 years to follow the American process to become a citizen. That way you don't have to leave and then come back wasting resources and time and all that stuff. You could just stay here for 2 or 3 years. And then if you've been able to get through the process by then hey, good, you're all good to go. But if not, then you have to leave. I think something like that is a bit more fair. But I do strongly agree with also if you enter unlawfully, yeah, it must be found and deported. That's kind of fair too. Let's see here. I support opening our borders. Anyone who wants to immigrate, freedom of movement is an essential human right. That's funny. We can accept immigrants, but they should be expected to learn our language and culture and do their best to integrate with our people and way of life. That's kind of true as well. But at the same time, I think it's a little bit less specific than I'm trying to be with my answers here. Actually, you know what? No. It's actually a little bit more specific because I do think that should be a major part of the screening process where it's like, hey, like you like the American laws, you like the American culture, can you speak English? Those types of things should also be criteria. It's like you shouldn't be coming into America and then like hating the fact that women are allowed to drive and vote. Right? I don't know, go to Afghanistan then. If those are like the policies you support. But we shouldn't be importing people who hate our country. We must make it easy and quick to legally immigrate into this country. Immigrants improve our nation and we can provide many of them with a much better quality of life. No, it doesn't necessarily need to be easy, I don't think. We can accept immigrants, but they should be expected to learn our language and culture and do their best to integrate with our people and way of life. Right to secession. Ooh, it's a tricky one. Provinces should not be allowed to secede. However, we should give states more flexibility in setting their own laws such that they can pass the laws that they want, except in extreme cases such as violating human rights. Ooh, nifty. That's a nifty policy. The only thing I disagree with is I think that provinces should be allowed to secede. Those who want independence should not be forced to remain part of our nation, and any individual should have the right to take their own land and property, declare themselves independent without a vote. No. I disagree with that one. Provinces should have the right to secede. It should be possible for one to organize a referendum and secede if it passes with overwhelming support. Yep, I agree with that. We should not have provinces and be a unitary state, so there should not be anywhere clearly defined to be able to secede. No, I disagree with that. Provinces should exist, but in most cases be given independence referendums and certainly not as a right. Now I'm gonna go with provinces should have the right to secede. It should be possible for one to organize a referendum and secede if it passes with overwhelming support. Healthcare. We're almost done here. Allowing healthcare providers to set their own prices freely allows them to fund additional research and benefits us all by providing new, better treatments. That's true. That's true. But my take now is that healthcare should just be banned. Like, not healthcare, but like healthcare insurance should be banned. I think it's a major thing inflating our inflating healthcare costs today. Healthcare service should be private, but I will ensure that the government provides a single payer system to ensure nobody needs to worry about being able to afford the healthcare they need. No. Healthcare should be left to the free market. If healthcare providers or insurers aren't providing affordable service, they will not have customers and go out of business. That is true. I agree with that one. I believe in having not just one, but many government-owned healthcare options. The cost for all of them will be paid for, but you can choose the one that you think has the best service to create competition between them. No. The government can't really compete against itself. That'd be kind of weird. I do not want to ban private healthcare or insurance, but I want a public option that will provide a fair rate that will put private companies that are taking advantage of customers out of business. I disagree with that too. The problem with nationalizing certain things in mostly privatized sectors is that generally you'll get more policies that just squeeze out the private companies. So I don't know what to let's see. Both healthcare and treatment should be directly provided and guaranteed to all citizens by the nation. No. I support private insurance and healthcare providers, but ensuring that prices are competitive relative to the cost to produce them, and prosecuting any cases of price fixing. No, I don't think the prices should be that heavily regulated, to be honest. I'll go with the third one. Healthcare should be left to the free market. If healthcare providers or insurers aren't providing affordable service, they will not have customers and go out of business. Abortion. Bans on abortion and abortions primarily hurt the poor and often leave single mothers stuck in poverty with a baby. Abortion should be illegal for everyone. Nope. We should have full control over your body, including the right of abortion. Nope. If the state approves you to have a baby, you should have it. What? What? If the state approves you to have a baby? What? Is it like, what is it, like Handmaid's Tale or something? No, not even. You should have it unless the mother's life is in danger. People who are not approved to have babies should have abortions mandated. However, face drink penalties. Yo, what is this? Dang, no. Abortion should be legal but rare. People should be educated of alternative methods of contraception. There should be restrictions on the term abortion for that reason. Nope. The right to life is a fundamental right, and abortion should be banned in nearly all cases. I completely agree with that one. Let's go with that. I'm a pro-life extremist, baby. Let's go. Reproductive. I'm not an extremist. Don't break the FACE Act, guys. Don't break the law. I'm not an extremist. Reproductive incentives. Oh, also don't assassinate abortionists. I'm sorry. I'm not an extremist. Okay, I promise. Reproductive incentives. Reproductive incentives. Okay, here we go. Population limiting incentives would only hurt the poor. It's limiting. The only incentives I'd support would be for growing the population. As the rich will not care about the incentives, we should offer financial support to the poor to ensure our youth are able to have the needs met growing up, but not enough to be considered an incentive. Those with genes that the state wants. Should have children and have children often, and those with poor genes should not be allowed to have children at all. Oh no. We found the Aryan take. We should encourage our native citizens to have more children by offering tax incentives to ensure they can support our economy as our population ages and ensure our culture is passed down. I agree with that one. People should have as many children as they want. That's not the business of the state. That is also kind of true. That's kind of true. But if your country's so bad that people aren't willing to have children in it, you're doing something wrong. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. You know what? No, I'm actually. Oh, it's so tough because both of those are good takes, though. Both of those are good takes. Let's do the fourth one. That's actually, I think, that's actually fairer. People should have as many children as they want. I'm actually changing my political opinion reading this. Children should have as many children. People should have as many children as they want. It's not the business of the state. Yeah, it's not the business of the state. Because if people aren't having children, that's a cultural issue, as well as it could be an economic issue. But like, you could fix that with economic legislation. The earth has a limit to the populations it can support, and while we do not have strict controls, we should not have strict controls, we should incentivize people to limit the number of children they have. Nope. We need to keep our population in check, but incentives will not stop the rich, so we should have a hard limit on the number of children a person they have. No. People should have as many children as they want. That is not the business of the state. Let's do a check mark on that one. Prostitution. Here we go. Sex should be reserved for marriage or at least a long-term relationship. Prostitution and other sex work is immoral. True. But that doesn't mean it should be illegal, though. It's a question. We should have regulated prostitution and other sex work because the alternative is a black market for which it is much worse. That's a fair take, I think. People should be free to do what they want with their bodies. If they want to sell themselves for sex, that's their own choice. The only problem with that is oftentimes that decision can be easily coerced. So I support the second one more than the third one. Prostitution takes advantage of the poor by making them sell themselves off. The rich just to pay the bills. It should be legal to buy. Nah, I don't think so. Unapproved sex should not be permitted, as it may result in children with less than ideal characteristics. Yo, I think I'm young enough that I can kind of hear the dog whistles. But no, I'm gonna go with number 2. We should have regulated prostitution and other sex work because the alternative is a black market for which it is much worse. By the way, y'all see here, y'all know I'm a Christian. I'm not supporting prostitution by any means, but I am saying that like if you're in a free society where people are generally allowed to do whatever they want, and you're saying that you want freedom, I don't understand. I don't think there's a convincing argument to be made against prostitution, if that makes sense. Regional union plus parliament, like the EU. I oppose to being part of any such union. I have no interest in what the laws of other nations are, but I'm very much opposed to giving them a say in our laws. Being part of this regional union gives us a much greater say in our international affairs, significant economic benefits, and allow us more diplomatic options. As such, I support being a part of it. That's the type of take I would have. This union contains many nations with many languages, identities, and cultures, and they are able to maintain those cultural identities. As such, I do not see an issue with our membership. I mean, the cultural identities of other nations is not our business, though. I support this regional union. We should use this common parliament to push forward legislation that benefits the people of all our nations. I suppose, but it should be mostly for like voluntary agreements on like to make a coalition to do something. Like if you want to, I don't know, fund EVs or something, like having a international initiative to do that, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. See here. Our laws are for our own people to decide, not those abroad. I oppose being part of this union. The freedom of our people is not my first priority. The regulations from this union could restrict freedom in this country. I'm opposed to being part of it. Is it likely to do that, though? How likely is that to happen? And also the diplomatic benefits, I think, make it worthwhile to be part of the union. This union allows us to better protect our people through international protection safety measures that could allow us easier international trade deals, bring up our quality of life, I suppose, but I think I more specifically agree with the second one, which says being a part of this regional union gives us a much greater say in international affairs. Significant economic benefits allow us more diplomatic options. As such, I support being a part of it. I think this can apply to something like the UN as well. Internet service providers. 2 more questions left, folks. 2 more questions. Or 3, I guess. We should have a national internet service provider that guarantees affordable, reliable, high-speed internet throughout the country. Private companies will have to compete with that as a baseline. I don't necessarily agree with that. Let's see here. We must make it feasible for people to start government-backed internet service providers in their area. These will be owned by the government and provided to everyone. However, people may choose which ISP they want based on the options in their area. I don't really love the idea of government backing these types of companies or organizations, though. Internet service providers should not be regulated and will find the fair price for internet, which may vary based on how expensive it is to connect to an area based on how much it is worth. I think I agree on that. I don't think that there's much evidence that internet service providers would do a race for the bottom if you don't regulate internet. So I think I agree with the third one. The fourth one says we should regulate internet service providers to ensure they provide nationwide coverage and that there are multiple options everywhere to allow competition and prosecute them if companies form deals that allow them to create regional monopolies. I mean, the only problem with that is you're going to have some companies that can't afford to cover the entire nation. And so that's just grossly unfair. Through taxes, the government should subsidize multiple internet service providers, expanding to all areas of the nation, in exchange for price guarantees to ensure that everyone has multiple affordable options for internet. I don't really agree with that. I don't support that. High-speed internet high-speed ISPs must be nationalized. They aren't No. They aren't able to have fair competition due to the laying out cables. There's the cost of laying out cables, especially in rural areas. I disagree with that because you can provide high-speed internet by like satellite or something. So it is expensive for ISPs to connect areas to the internet. They will do their best to ensure coverage at an affordable price and should only be penalized if they fail to deliver the quality and reliability of the internet that they advertise. That's a really good take. I support that. Because you can do false advertising, right? You can't be like, oh, we give you super fast speeds and then give slow speeds. Like, that's really fair. That's really fair. I support that. Okay, 2 more, guys. 2 more. Free speech. You should have freedom of speech. The state should decide what's acceptable to say. No. You should have the freedom to say anything, and it's not illegal until you actually take illegal action based on the speech. I kind of agree, but at the same time, you shouldn't be allowed to just run around and tell people to break the law. Speech should be free, but should not be guaranteed protection from backlash, including being removed from platforms if your opinions aren't welcome there. I agree with that. Speech should generally be free if it is literal speech. However, symbolic speech is destroying symbols of the government or religious texts are grossly offensive and should be banned. No. We should ban and penalize very offensive language such as slurs. They should be penalized through fines offline and deplatforming online. Bro, we found another Nazi take. Okay, no, not that one. This is close. I'm gonna do the second one, but with a question mark where it says you should have the freedom to say anything. It is not illegal until you actually take an illegal action based on the speech. Because again, you shouldn't be allowed to be like, burn those people's houses down. Like, even if no one actually follows through on that. The last one, representatives. I do not want representation. I want to be able to directly vote on most issues as referenda. I want to represent. So there's that one. I want a representative who will bring stability and strength through lifelong rule. No. No Kim Jong-un for me, sir. I'm sorry. I want a leader who will represent the popular opinion of the area they serve, even when they personally disagree. Ooh, that's a nice one. I want a leader who has served in the military and worked their way up to the ranks. No, what's up with this, like, military, like, bootlegging here and all these answers? I want leaders who are experts in various fields and can use that knowledge to create well-informed policies. No, I don't really care about that. I do not want representation. I want the government to be abolished. No. I want a representative who I can bribe to get my legislative agenda passed. What? Some of these answers are straight up unhinged. But no, let's do the third one. I want the leader who represents the popular opinion of the area they serve, even when they personally disagree. I'm gonna go with that one. Check. So let's see what my answer is. Okay, interesting. Okay, so government, 100% confederationism. I don't even know what that is. People who agree in confederationism, according to this quiz, believe that the local government should be the primary unit of government with a weak national government with very limited powers. They believe in the right for a province to secede. Oh, hold on, let's see here. They believe in the right for a province to secede, and in many ways support the nation as an alliance of smaller local provinces. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's me. Like, I agree with that. Economy. 83.9% classical liberalism. Those who according to this quiz, believe in classical liberalism tend to believe that the government should largely stay out of the economy, except in extreme cases of exploitation. And when companies fail to deliver what they advertised to the consumer. Yeah, I generally agree with that. 16.1% laissez-faire. This quiz used laissez-faire to refer to the complete lack of interference by the state, even if one exists in the markets, relying solely on market principles to regulate markets through consumer choices rather than mandates. They believe that without regulation, the markets will be open to everyone and thus find fair prices. I generally agree with this. The only thing is we do know that to a certain degree that doesn't work in practice. So that's probably why I'm not more laissez-faire than 16.1%. Society. 81.6% freedom. Let's go, baby. Let's go. This quiz uses freedom to mean the belief that the right of the individual to do what they want without regulation or censorship by the state. This especially refers to the ability to have control over the individual's body and mind, as well as the freedom to use advances in technology to their full extent on an individual level. Yeah, that sounds good to me. 18.4% traditionalism. Traditionalism is used by this quiz to refer to following morals that are proud of traditional values such as religion, patriotism, and humanity. Traditionalists also tend to believe in placing limits on technology, which could violate their beliefs and values. You see, I think tradition is important. The problem is I don't think that the only traditions that should be followed are the ones that I agree with. And if they don't reflect the population, then they shouldn't necessarily be enforced. 100% hybrid on religion. This quiz calls a hybridist someone who can believe that the state and church can coexist, and while that state should not favor religion, it should not favor atheism. It's also not favoring atheism. True. Hybridists advocate for a balance of religion in schools and government, as long as it does not favor one in particular or force a religion upon anyone. Yeah, I agree with that. It's pretty fair. Security, 100% procedural. I'm surprised I'm 100% on so many of these things. According to this quiz, someone who believes in procedural security believes that people should follow the procedures and regulations that are set out. Those that are following the procedures, even when the procedures are wrong, should not be punished, and the procedures should be changed. Yes, I agree with that. And lastly, on foreign policy, it says 100% sovereigntist. This quiz calls someone who believes that a nation should have absolute right to control their own laws a sovereigntist. Yes, I agree with that. Absolutely. These people believe that the nation must have a right to control its borders and laws and will oppose deals and organizations that threaten to take some of that power away from the nation. Yeah, I generally agree with that. Like, yeah. I generally agree. So, like, hold on. I'm going to copy this link because you can save. It says here you can copy or save this image by right-clicking on it. Well, I'm going to copy the link as well so people can see. Here, let me go into the Discord and say here. Let's see here. Okay. I just filled out my Prism political quiz. Now, Bread Boys, feel free to fill yours out as well and share here. Okay, I'm going to see my results with the link, and I will right click this image as well and paste it. And then I'll link to the quiz itself here. Quiz itself, because I have to do a link because it's seated. Oh my goodness, hold on. This is all mangled by YouTube's nonsense. There we go. Okay, it's seated. So I have to share the link myself. That's cool. That's cool. So let's go back to the main page. The values page. So I'll have to go through this another time. Let's see here. Oh, let me check the. Oh my goodness. Whew. Yo, it's way later than I thought it was. This took longer than I thought it would take. So another time I'll go through all the possible values. I think that'd be fun to do. Also, if you guys end up deciding you want to take the quiz, I would love to see your guys' like results. That'd be fun to just review and react to, I think.